Hi, I'm Beth, creator of dryitcanit.com. I show you how to dehydrate food, how to can food, and I share original recipes with you. Today, I'm going to make a dehydrated zucchini lasagna using some dehydrated zucchini, some canned spaghetti meat sauce, and some canned cottage cheese. Now, I know cottage cheese canning is not a quote safe thing, and I will do a demo on that later this fall, but rather than comment on it, just know that this is what I'm choosing to do, and I've done it safely for quite some period of time, but I know it's not an approved USDA thing. That said, eggs are supposed to be cooked so that the yolks are hard, and you're never supposed to thaw food on the counter. But all that aside, let's get going with today's recipe. So what I did, first of all, is a while ago I dehydrated some zucchini. And what I did is I simply took a mandolin and I cut my zucchini in lengths so that I knew that I could fit my zucchini in jars for purposes of storage, but also for conditioning. And I cut my zucchini about a 1/4 inch thick. I'm going to take some of these out here. I cut my zucchini about a 1/4 inch thick, and then I dehydrated it really until it was dry and crispy. I did that at 125 degrees. And what you can see is that yes, there are seeds in this, and that was just fine because this was not an overly large zucchini. It was dried till crispy, breaks apart just much like a noodle. So to make the zucchini today, I started with a bowl that I lightly greased with a spray of Pam. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a layer of my meat sauce below, and that'll serve partly to help dehydrate the zucchini. And I like to add meat sauce, and when I cook zucchini even with cook a lasagna even with regular noodles, I always never cook my noodles, and I always start with a layer. So I put some meat sauce at the bottom. It's not completely covered. And then I'm just going to take my dried zucchini and lay my pieces in there to kind of fill this up. So I don't worry about rehydrating this because this is going to rehydrate with the moisture from the ingredients. So I'll just take some smaller pieces and fill in where I can. I'll push that down so it's setting in the meat so it's covered like so. Then I'm going to take another layer of my meat sauce. And again, if you're canning, you can use plain tomato sauce, you can use a vegetable sauce. You don't necessarily have to use meat. And I will put a layer of that on top, spreading it fairly thin, and again, the meat next to it will help it rehydrate. I also have my canned cottage cheese, which I end up draining, and it ends up being like ricotta, and to that I stirred in 1 egg. What the egg does is it will help the cottage cheese stay together, and it'll coagulate a little bit. But it's somewhat soupy now. I shouldn't say like cottage cheese, I should say more like ricotta cheese. So it's a little bit soupy now with that egg. And I'm just going to pour some of that in there, and I'm going to spread that evenly also. And again, this moisture will help all of this come together. So you can see what that looks like. Then I'm going to take some more of my dehydrated zucchini, and I'm going to lay that the opposite direction. So the first layer of zucchini went this way, and the second one is going across. And I think that just sort of helps everything sort of stay together. So I'm just going to take my layers, and again, I'm just going to lay them on there until I can pretty much fill most of that. I'll take some of the broken pieces and put those down like so. Again, push the noodles slightly into the sauce that's there, and then I'm going to repeat my layers. So I'm going to put another little layer of meat sauce on here, like so. Spread that around, don't want it too thick. Now this obviously is going to be not as it's going to be healthier than having lasagna noodles. It's not going to be as hearty because you're not going to have the bulk of the noodles, but it's going to be really delicious. So I've got my meat sauce in, I've spread that around, like so. Then I'm going to take my cottage cheese and my egg mixture and just pour a little bit of that again, and then spread that around. And again, all this moisture will help that zucchini rehydrate, which is why I don't rehydrate it ahead of time. And I'm going to do one more layer. And again, I'm going to lay my noodles in the opposite direction that I just did. And this actually is a very filling meal. It's a healthy meal. You could use a white sauce if you wanted to, if you like white sauces. If you don't have a canned spaghetti sauce, you can use a jar of purchase sauce. You can add pork, you can add meat, you can add chicken, you can add vegetables. You can have just tomato sauce if you want to. So I've laid noodles in there again. I'm calling these zucchini noodles. And again, I'm going to put my last layer of meat on here. Going to spread that out. This is what's really nice about having food around, so to speak. Both canned food and dehydrated food is oftentimes you can mix them up to make yourself a meal, either in a hurry. I don't have to cook all of this by scratch. And it'll still be a home-cooked meal, and that it'll be freshly made in the oven. So, and I added more meat sauce. I added more of the cheese. Again, I spread that around. And then I look at this and I have just a little bit of cheese sauce, and I have not a lot of my zucchini chips left. So I'm actually going to put the rest of these on here rather than save just a few of them, because there's not going to be enough here to make another meal. And rather than open another jar and put this in, I'll just put this on top like this. So again, I'll push those in. I really don't have much meat sauce here, about a spoonful. I'll just put that on there so that it's not going to waste. If my cottage cheese was a little bit drier, then I probably might have added just a little bit of water to the cheese, but this is really a consistency I like. I have enough cheese here mixed with the egg that I can pour that on top of the noodles to rehydrate it. And again, this will be a little bit of a soupy lasagna served in a bowl, but that zucchini is going to absorb all of that. So, simple, put together, spread. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cover this. I'm going to put it in the oven at 325 degrees. I will use a knife occasionally after about 30-35 minutes to just poke it to see if those noodles are done. And then I will put some mozzarella cheese on top, uncovered, and let that cheese melt. So I'll show you what this looks like when it's all done. So stay tuned. In the meantime, hit the subscribe button to subscribe and get notified of when I have new videos showing you how to do things or new recipes. If you don't like them, you just pass on that video, but getting notified would be great. So stay tuned and I'll show you what this looks like when it's done. It's been in the oven for about 45 minutes. I can take a knife and I can poke it, and it's soft, so I know it's cooked. I'm going to put some mozzarella cheese on it and put it in the oven until it gets brown. The cheese is melted. It looks delicious. I'm going to let that sit for about 5 or 10 minutes to set up, and then it's going to be time to eat. Stay tuned. My lasagna is done. Looks delicious. I cooked this for a total of 45 minutes in the oven at 325 degrees Fahrenheit. I did that at 325 because it slows the cooking and allows for more moisture to be absorbed by the zucchini. But I think it looks pretty darn good. Now I don't know how pretty it's going to be when I cut it up, because getting something out of a round bowl here is going to be a little bit difficult. But I'm going to try and show you what this is like by cutting it kind of in the middle here and then trying to take out a piece. But again, this is a super easy recipe. You can use whatever ingredients you want. If you don't like canning your own cottage cheese, go buy some. That's not a problem. And this is going to come out difficult, so I'm going to use a spoon here. But you can use whatever you want. And the whole thing with canning and or dehydrating food is you can use your imagination almost to put this together. Now, this didn't come out in nice layers, and that's okay. It's going to taste just as good. So this is what we have, is we have lunch or dinner, whatever you want to have, and we used our dried zucchini, and we used our canned meat sauce. And again, you can buy your meat sauce, that's not a problem. You can use tomato sauce that you have at home. You can buy tomato sauce, you can buy spaghetti sauce, put in vegetables. I didn't season this because I have my my canned meat sauce is heavily seasoned for Italian so that I can use it for Italian foods. But you could add garlic to this. You could add onion powder, garlic powder, chopped onions, whatever you wanted. But my lasagna has my cooked zucchini noodles. They are soft, they are pliable, and I think hot, but I think they're going to be delicious. It is plenty hot. I should let that cool a little bit more. But it's really, really good. The zucchini is not al dente by any means, but has a little bit of a chew on it. A little bit more than maybe a soft noodle would. But this is really good. And I hope what you do is you'll take this idea and look at what you have in your pantry. Give this a try. Again, I would really appreciate you subscribing to the channel. If you like the video, please give me a thumbs up. It lets me know what kind of videos you like to have. So, happy canning, happy dehydrating. Thanks for watching.